Okay, Marc Hauser, thanks for joining us on Air Sports News. Good to see you, my friend. It's been a long time.
Thank you very much, Ring. Thank you. Good to see you.
But where exactly?
Wait. There are emails coming still in from another source. Let me see. Okay, stop.
Okay, we'll start that again. So from the top. Marc Hauser, thanks for joining us on Air Sports News. It's been a long time since I've seen you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you, Regan? It's a real honor to be on your show.
Well, it's good to have you here. We've got a lot to talk about. Where are you right now?
I'm in Bern. We are not in a lockdown, but I'm still in Bern, sitting in my kitchen, and I had to bring out all the cats and rats, and now I'm sitting here on my own in my kitchen in Bern.
Bern, great place, home of the Gordon Bennett gas balloon race, which we were at, and had a fantastic time there. My first question, before we get into your skydiving antics, I want to ask you about horse racing. There was a horse which won the Preakness Stakes in Baltimore at the weekend called Swiss Skydiving. Did you see it?
Yeah, I've seen that. A friend of mine just sent me the link this morning. He is from California, and he said, "Oh, are you involved in that?" And I said, "No, unfortunately, I'm not, but I would like to be." Maybe I was an inspiration for them.
I wish I would have seen it before. So, Marc, you started skydiving. What year was it you started jumping?
I started when I was really young, so I started flying before I could fly, before I could drive cars. So I was always safer in the sky than on the road, and I think that's still the case today. And I started with gliding, so I was flying these airplanes without any engine in front. Yes. And then I became an aerobatic pilot there. I was flying competitions in the Swiss Alps, and then I trained myself to become a single engine flying pilot, but just in the small ones. And that was my background from flying. And I started with skydiving when I was about 19 years old, 19, 20 years old. And but the problem for me was I always had this small training capacity of 1 or 2 weeks, then some months off, and then I came back to Ampuriya. So I never was really involved into skydiving as I should have been. I'm absolutely not a pro skydiver. That's really important.
So we're going to talk about your attempt to fly in the jet stream, which is an incredible endeavor with so many different parts to it. Let's just start with, you set a world record for horizontal tracking speed in 2012, 304 kilometers an hour. Tell me about that.
Yeah, you know, when the first fly-sight devices came out, the small GPS devices, I put them in my helmet, in my gear, and I found out that I was already traveling with 200 kilometers horizontal speed. And then I thought, okay, now let's break the world record. And at that time, there was no existing world record. So I said to myself, let's put one as being the first. And I had to be a bit fast because I didn't want to disappoint my watch sponsor, because I told them I'll try to be the fastest one you can be. And so I had to gain weight. And I was really already 100 kilo at that time with my 2 meters height, and I gained about 14 kilos to be really this massive skydiving bomb. And so that led to this 304 kilometers.
And did you take any professional coaching for your tracking position, for your speed, or did you just work it out yourself?
Yeah, I had quite a bit of training with Nemo from Skydive Ampuriya Brava, with Tom Naff. He was really essential in my whole adventure, because he was following me with his camera, and he was my mentor. And he even brought his the rental gear to Australia, because maybe you have seen the Skydive Dubai on the back of my skydiving rig. So it was a rented rig, because I didn't have a rig at the time. So you see, I really depend on real professionals in this sport.
So you realised you could go fast, you realised you had the potential for a lot of forward horizontal speed, and then the idea of the jet stream. Tell me about this. How did that come about?
Yeah, I thought it would be nice to have the best tailwind you can get. So the best tailwind is a hurricane, and hurricane force wind is a jet stream. And I knew that it must be quite complicated to get up there in a plane, because if you have to bail out at these altitudes, you must have pressurized cockpits, you must have basically military crafts, and that's pretty hard to get access to one of these machines. And the next crazy guys who go at these altitudes are the balloon pilots. And you know these hot air balloon pilots, and so they are a bit of crazy. And I like the idea to get up with one of these guys, but that put in a whole new situation on the scene, because it's really hard to get them start when you have too much wind, and you must be able to land again. And so in jet stream conditions, a lot of the time you have a lot of wind on the ground as well.
And what heights are we talking? I think I've got my notes, 7,000 to 12,000 meters.
Yeah, it's between the 6,000 and 13,000 meters. So it can start even lower. In our case, the jet stream started pretty low at about 5,000 meters. And jet stream is all the wind speeds considered from 100 kilometer plus at these altitudes are considered being jet stream speed. And if you're a sailor, it's a Beaufort 12, so it's a real storm going up there, but it's not a problem because you, with your hot air balloon, you are part of this jet stream and you just float with it. It's kind of being swimming in a river, and you have the same speed as the river, so it's not really harmful.
The jet stream, it's constant activity in the north and south hemisphere, but we want to talk a bit about the untapped potential, the energy that's there, and that's one of the reasons you were bringing light and publicity to the jet stream. There's a lot of potential energy there for humans to use.
Yeah, and that's the main story in our storytelling project, because it's really about this clean energy potential of high altitude winds. Nowadays, these companies, they cannot tap into high altitude winds like the jet stream altitude, but they can go up to 300, 400, 500 meters from above ground, and that's way higher than the ground-mounted windmills we have today. And the higher you go, the more energy you can bring out. So if you double the speed of the wind, you get 8 times more of energy, and I think that's phenomenal. So and it's also our experience when we go with a kite. As soon as the kite is up there, we are fine. It's pretty hard to get them started. You have to run, but as soon as it's high enough, then you're fine.
And there is kites for generating energy now. A Swiss company have been developing a system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are several companies. Actually, there are about a dozen companies worldwide, and they have built some small containers. They are really flexible. You can move them everywhere you want to have them, and it's really easy to bring the kite up, and it's constantly pulling a rope, and the rope is tethered on the ground on a reel, and this reel is turning like crazy, like a generator, like a dynamo, and it creates energy on the ground.
Incredible system. So tell me about your attempt. Was it 2018 Australia?
Yeah, it was summer in Switzerland. It was summer. In Australia, it was winter at these times, because the jet stream is the strongest in winter time, and so you have to find a place where the jet stream is blowing. And usually Australia is really reliable, especially in the center of Australia. But our problem was without sponsor in the south. We had a good friend, he's a pilot himself, and Steve Gale, he wanted to take care about our oxygen supplies. And then we said, okay, let's start from Melbourne. But I knew that Melbourne was far too way south. And then we're so lucky that the jet stream just came a bit down to the south, and we could find a place to start.
And how was the experience? How was the day? Talk me through moment by moment how it went.
Yeah, before takeoff, Steve Gale approached and he said, okay, listen, we have a problem. And then Steve Griffin came, the hot air balloon pilot, and he was the only one capable of going into the jet stream in Australia at that time. There have been 3 guys up there in the jet stream in Australia. Usually they don't do that because they don't have to traverse the Alps. So it doesn't make sense to go at these altitudes because you don't see anything too much from the ground. And so he was the only one capable of going there. That was Steve Griffin and the pilot Steve Gale. And they approached me and they said, okay, Marc, we have bad news. We have too many clouds. We have no jet stream conditions anymore. And the wind is blowing too strong for a landing. So I said, that's really bad news. and then in the end, it was really this Crocodile Dundee mindset. And they just said, okay, just give it a go. We will see if it works. And we had a calm start at a sunny day. It was perfect and in the middle of nowhere. And we took off near Fort in Australia. And we suddenly had jet stream conditions, which is more than these 100 kilometers per hour. We were climbing and we wanted to go to 10,000 meters first, but then we were stopped at 7,600 meters. So that was the maximum altitude we could reach. And at the end, it was the maximum altitude we could reach anyway, because we had so many problems accumulating at the same time, because we had to rent a hot air balloon system. And yeah, they made some mistakes in the mixture of the gas. We had not the real perfect 3-burner system, so we had several problems at the same time. The burners went down. We had no flame anymore, which is a bad thing in hot air balloon because there's no heat coming up again. And we had a freezing condition in our prototype oxygen system. That was not a problem because we had a lot of spare bottles on the ground, so we could have changed it anytime. But this combination, as usually in aviation, you have accidents when you have combined problems at the same time. And that happened in our case.
Incredible. And you've made quite a footprint onto the international media with your attempt with BBC News and many other outlets as well. And even a movie. You produced a movie about it.
Yeah, that was the idea in the beginning, because we could convince BBC World News that the story in itself would be really fantastic, to have this combination of adrenaline, adventure-driven air sports with this clean energy project of this really not known high-altitude wind power. And this combination was triggering them, and they were really keen to make a 3-series documentation about that. And that was the real effort for me to really show the world that we have these opportunities, and we could tap into really unknown field and into new land. And so they liked this combination. And for me, then it was more about telling the full story than being the real hero. Because as you know, as a pro skydiver, just bailing out of a hot air balloon at these altitudes, it's not a big deal. And then you have to be a bit stable, more or less, just to make a bit of speed. And my first goal was to break my own silly world record from 8 years ago. But at the end, I think that the real story is being the first, showing something completely new. And at that time, no one was jumping in the jet stream to this date. And I'm not sure if someone did it until then. There have been several attempts, but it's quite hard to build a team, to go on a place, to have the media on board, and then to find this jet stream and fly into the jet stream actually. If you're up there, if everything is fine, then you just bail out. It's not a big deal. But if you have to really bring the whole team there to one date, it's really amazing how complicated that is.
I can imagine, all the logistics. So what's next? What's your next dream?
Yeah, I stopped now with skydiving because I think, for me, it's better to stop now when I still have my 2 knees more or less working, because I have a problem in my right knee. Well, now the left knee is even worse.
Oh, wow.
And that's an old military injury. I broke my knee there, and I had about 6 surgeries now, and I'm waiting for the next surgery would be a replacement of the knee, and I would like to avoid that. So I'm changing now the surrounding, and I would like to go into the sea, because that's better for the knee. So the sea is good for the knee. And now the next story will be about a new kind of world record in free diving, but I will basically be the host, leading through the series, and I will not be the crazy diver, because these guys, they are really crazy. So I will stay on safe grounds, on the ship, on the boat. I'm sailing like a fool now, which is quite complicated if you don't have access to the sea as a Swiss guy. But I now managed to become my captain's license, and I'm really into this sea sports and underwater thing. And it's it's again this combination. We have this adventure, and we have this clean energy part with all the solutions, how we can tap into new fields of hydropower, how we can bring the energy out of flowing water.
Yes.
And
Incredible.
That's the next step.
Incredible. Well, I hope to keep our eyes on it. And Marc, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, and great to hear about that jet stream action and attempts. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and blue skies to you. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Reggie.